Hello, Mr. Nando v. Movies. My name is Alex Hood Fuller, responding to your call to arms about the one marvelous scene. I've so far seen 2 videos on the playlist, yours of course, and the one that covers the Spider-Man scene, riding the car. I've never done a YouTube video before, but when I heard you were putting this thing together, you were taking, I guess volunteers, for lack of a better term, I thought I would give in my 2 cents, because something like this, I'd never pass up a chance to talk about a Marvel conversation. So for my one marvelous scene, I call it the Shall We Dance scene. It's from Captain America, the First Avenger, the scene between Steve and Peggy as they're driving to the base. This is pre-Super Soldier Steve. He's on his way to get the serum from Dr. Erskine, which turns him into Captain America. The reason I love this scene so much is because I think it adequately accomplishes 3 very important things. 1, it tells you everything you need to know about Steve Rogers as a person. 2, it tells you everything you need to know about Peggy Carter as a person. And 3, it tells you everything you need to know about how Steve arc ends in that film. And by end of the film, I actually mean when he crashes into the ice, not the very end where he wakes up. First off, I love Steve and Peggy's dynamic within this movie. And this scene particularly, I like that you have Steve Rogers, this small guy who, because of his size, because of his stature and everything like that, he has a lot of things that hold him back from life, and Peggy being a woman in the 40s, while she doesn't realize what he's saying from that angle, because she's not some small person who gets, beat up and everything, she does understand the concept of being held back from what it is that she may want simply by virtue of who she is. Back in the 40s, women didn't have, too many rights and everything like that, particularly in places of authority, such as the position she has in the movie. But what I like about the scene is that it really turns into an innocent conversation between 2 people when Peggy is like, oh well, I'm sure you've gone out and danced before, and Steve, nah, I never did that. Girls weren't really lining up to dance with somebody they met step on. I think that's the direct quote. And then he goes on to say, the last couple years, given that this is during World War II, it just doesn't seem important to him. There are bigger things going on. I like as driving to the base, he's pointing to different areas. Oh yeah, I got beat up there. I got beat up over there. I got beat up in that parking lot, that diner, such and such, such and such. And Peggy Carter goes, oh, you have anything against running away? And that wasn't an attempt at an accent, by the way. And Steve goes, well, if you start running, they never let you stop. Steve understands that the moment you compromise, that's a chink in your armor. That's something that people can now take advantage of for the rest of your life. He goes on to say, if you stand tall, if you push back, you keep fighting, people can't say no forever. And this is actually where they're going now, is the embodiment of that very philosophy. He's lived his entire life not backing down from bullies, being unapologetically who he is despite his limitations. And he is being rewarded in the following scene by becoming, what he will eventually be known as Captain America. But the super soldier, his character is what gets him what he wants, that belief that you have to not give up. He's trying out for the army all these different times. He gets turned away. Erskine doesn't pick him because of, his strength or anything like that. Erskine picks him because he sees that he just keeps trying. And he even says, I'm not concerned with, where you're from, or I think that's what he said. He's concerned with he wasn't concerned with the fact that he falsified his information. He was concerned with the fact that he tried so many times to do it. It's like, oh, you're somebody who has a goal and you want to accomplish it. This is exactly the kind of person I'm looking for. Steve's belief is what gets him everything that he strives for in the film, not giving up. But specifically the talking about the dance, because that comes up later. I like when she asked him, and I'm not an actor or anything like that, but I do like to note other people, the way they act out scenes and everything like that. When she asks about the dance, he looks down, he shakes his head before he answers. His body already knows what his answer is. His body already knows what his concerns are, what is important to him before he verbally says so. Chris Evans communicates to the audience that Steve Rogers already is firm in his belief. I know why I've never been on a dance before this war happened. I know why I haven't attempted to be on a dance since the war has happened. It's a small thing, but I think it's powerful. It's one of those ways where an actor, tells what they're thinking before even saying anything. And once again, Steve, by virtue of just being somebody who just wants to be a soldier, he wants to fight for his country and everything like that, a dance is of little consequence to him. Fast forward to the end of the movie when he's in the plane and he's putting it down because he has to make this ultimate sacrifice. He doesn't talk to Peggy about anything except the dance. And I think that is meaning, this is the end game. This is his end game as far as that mission goes. He's beaten the Red Skull. All that's left to handle the Tesseract has been lost. All that's left to handle is these bombs. He can't let the bombs hit the city. He needs to put this plane down. He needs to save all these lives. This is the end of the mission. As a soldier, he has accomplished his goal. He knows that this is the last step. So now he has no other priorities to distract him from that earlier conversation about the dance. I think that's why he discusses with her, hypothetically, even though he knows he's never gonna, make this date that they set up and everything, because he knows he's about to die. I think it's Steve realizing that I did it. I became a soldier. I fought for America and I won. So now it's time for everything that I want after that. I want the woman, by implication. I want the future. I want the family and everything like that. And even on a longer level, because we don't get to this until Age of Ultron. Funny, because that's the movie you covered. At the end of that movie, he goes, when Tony's talking about his quiet life, and he reassures Steve that he'll get there. Steve is like, well, that's over. I had my end of the mission. Now I can focus on the family moment. Back in the 40s, but I died. So when I came out and realized there are still wars to fight, there are still threats to take care of and everything like that, the simple life just isn't for me. Kinda for me, it insinuates that when your story doesn't end, you can't keep acting as though it did. He makes this date with Peggy because he's expecting that he is at the end of his line. There is no next chapter. It ends right here. But then he wakes up and he realizes there are more chapters and everything like that. So he once again, he can't worry about the dance and everything like that. Peggy's gone, but conceptually he can't worry about the dance. We have to worry about aliens. We have to worry about Infinity Stones, murderous robots, Thanos, all that. I think waking up is him realizing that, the dance is never coming. There is no end of the line for me anymore. And all of that, I think, is captured so brilliantly in who Steve Rogers is as a person in the "Shall We Dance" scene. And that is what I pick as my one marvelous scene.